Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Soulmates. It's a heavy word, right? I'm not a fan of the word. And people who believe in soulmates may actually be the ultimate prey for narcissistic people. Let's talk about that. So the soulmate. It's a concept to me, the person who's focused on narcissistic relationship, but it's a concept even above and beyond that that's problematic right out the gate. A sort of magical reference to a one and only, a transcendental connection for the ages, a relationship unlike almost all others. There's a grandiose exceptionalism to the concept of soulmates. The rest of you unwashed masses are just having relationships of convenience. But I found my soulmate. Now again, you can imagine me, Dr. Ramani, the anti-Cupid, trying to keep people safe from toxic relationships at any cost. I'm not a fan of the soulmate concept. I have never, almost never, not saying never, but almost never seen a soulmate relationship really succeed in the normal world, ever. People who have been married a happy 60 years, they actually often don't call their person their soulmate. More often than not, they'll say they married their best friend. It's someone who makes them laugh. Someone who doesn't argue about small stuff. It's all pretty reasonable stuff. It's not this metaphysical soulmate nonsense. Any of you who followed the whole twin flames universe know the dangers of ideology around soulmates. And clearly that's an extreme example written into a more about a codified soulmate universe where accepting abuse is part of the whole thing. Because a twin flame appears to be a soulmate on steroids, not just a soulmate, but a galactically mandated one and only, that you have to make work, otherwise there's no second chance. I mean, obviously that's uniquely and bizarrely high stakes, like on those infomercials that if you didn't buy the knives in the next 5 minutes, that they would never be available at this price again. That's sort of what the whole twin flames thing feels like. But take a look at social media. That's a really big sort of soulmate kind of festival, right? Lots of folks in the I believe in true love space there. I've got to say they're the circle that often generally doesn't overlap with my audience, at least now. At some point they'll come over. But those folks love the concept of soulmates, and anyone who believes in soulmates, like I said, at some point they'll be looking at this channel when the whole soulmate thing blows up for them. But the people who believe in soulmates, they really believe it. And it doesn't matter how old they are. In a strange way, I do understand, and not a strange way, I actually understand a 20 or a 25-year-old believing in soulmates. There's something useful and hopeful about it. Then invariably they get burned in that relationship and the stuff of life happens. It fades a bit. I'm always a bit more startled when the over 40 group believes this nonsense. And there's a whole audience that looks to other people's soulmate stories as the stuff of hope and dreams. But this is a narcissism channel. The question is, do narcissistic folks truly believe in soulmates? And my answer to that is ish. I mean, soulmates are a grandiose belief, right? So obviously to some degree, narcissistic folks, I mean, in fact, if you look at the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder in the DSM, there is specific mention of the idea of the grandiose belief in a fantastical love story. So it's in their wheelhouse. For a minute, they may either believe or try to sell the idea of a once-in-a-lifetime. We rewrote the book on romance. We are an epic love story kind of nonsense. They really do believe it. Until that narcissist finds new supply, of course. But people who believe in soulmates, who themselves are not narcissistic, they're chum for narcissists. They play into every one of the narcissistic person's tactics. First of all, if a person believes in this whole soulmate mess, love bombing is almost confirmatory for them. Narcissists do their whole love bomb thing. I've never loved anyone like this. You were made for me. This feels like it was destined. You are my old soul. I have spent my life wandering, looking for you, that kind of stuff. It's kind of heady and exciting to get texts and emails that say that when you in fact believe in this soulmate thing, right? During love bombing, with the soulmate believers, during the love bombing phase and what the soulmate believers are going through, during that phase, the narcissistic people have a particular advantage. And there's a unique synergy happening. The narcissistic people don't have to expend that much effort because the soulmate believer is filling in all the dots and believing without question what's happening. The words, the interest, the intense attention, the dates, the excitement. And for narcissistic folks, they have to lock it down early because they don't have the energy for the long game. And the soulmate believers are really easy to lock down early because they truly believe that if someone is your soulmate, then you just know. You're destined, of course. And maybe you're destined in some other dimension and time and space. So 2 months is like 20 years in soulmate world. And that means that the soulmate believer will go all in. Do the stuff fast, maybe move in together fast, perhaps even get engaged, get pregnant, get married. They will commingle their finances, maybe even agree to some big purchases together. They will entwine their life with the narcissist. And then that person who believes in the soulmate thing gets stuck in a practical way, still holding on to that soulmate belief. The narcissistic person will also like this whole soulmate thing for a while. Because in a soulmate story, the narcissistic person might be portrayed as a hero. The soulmate might put it out there to the world. Look, this is my soulmate. Look, I have my soulmate. And that's great for a narcissistic person because now they look larger than life to other people. That works for them. So the narcissistic person will drink it up for a while. But they're also perceptive enough to know that this is going to be easy supply. Because everything that the narcissist does in that case, the soulmate believer is going to see through the goggles of their perfect love story. It's the perfect setup for a narcissistic person. The soulmate people believe a narrative of a one and only, of sweeping romantic love stories. They actually believe the love bombing will last forever. And the cognitive dissonance runs really strong for the soulmate folks. They are so wedded to the soulmate fantasy and belief system that any piece of evidence to the contrary is going to be excused, justified, rationalized, denied, or ignored. That means that when the devaluing begins, and it always begins, it won't register for the soulmate folks, or even if it does, and even if there's enough red flags to drape a Valentine's Day float, they will cut out the people who are pointing those red flags out and keep doing that whole big justifying dance. What this means is that once a narcissistic person gets a soulmate believer in their clutches, that they will be able to keep them there for a long time with little effort. They will be able to breadcrumb, and the soulmate believer will stitch those little breadcrumbs into a loved up loaf of soulmate bread. There will be lots of breaking up and making up. After all, aren't soulmate stories passionate and worth fighting for? And even justifying the highs and lows. Soulmates are fiery and passionate, and sure, it's volatile at times. A soulmate has to stick by them. So, as a result, soulmates have a unique risk of getting really stuck and enduring the narcissistic BS for a very long time. Soulmate belief systems are strongly felt, and certainly most people who believe in soulmates are not narcissistic. Maybe they're a little immature or superficial, but can be nice people who love love, who maybe had a nice enough run in childhood that they believe that they are special and believe they deserve a special love story. In fact, they probably believe all of us deserve a special love story, which is kind of sweet. Most soulmate believers are a little bit kind of caught up in a perpetual prom night adolescence. And once they find someone, once that soulmate believer finds someone, they want to share that story with anyone who stands still long enough. But this whole soulmate thing is a very risky play in a world full of narcissistic folks who may see them as the perfect supply, the perfect prey, a person who they can lock down with a light amount of love bombing and keep on ice as a constant source of validation and admiration for a long time without question. And the grand irony is that the soulmate believers really won't ever be willing to learn about red flags or all the rest of it. I've said it before on this channel. Experience is a harsh teacher. And some of the soulmate people are so far down the metaphysical rabbit hole that they just sort of live in a deluded, gaslighted fantasy for a long time when they're in a narcissistic relationship, defending it to the world, subsisting on breadcrumbs, running between future faked goalposts, and maybe one day having the awful wake-up call of what they're dealing with. And then they're absolutely welcome to hit the subscribe button on this channel at that point. I know you're thinking, come on, Dr. Ramani, you can't tell me that there's never a successful soulmate story. As I think about this video, and as I was outlining this video, there was a nearly $2 billion Powerball drawing. I'm buying a ticket, and someone's going to win. It happens. And it happens. Sometimes people get that soulmate story. And sometimes people get $2 billion because they walked into a liquor store. But if you are a soulmate believer, you do you, have your path and journey, but please, please, please be very careful when charm and charisma and promises and everything you ever wanted to hear walk in the door. You could lose yourself in a way that you may never be able to get yourself back out of again. I personally am sticking with the lottery. Wish me luck. And one last thing, hopefully you can give me a little more luck. I wanted to take a moment to let you know something exciting. I have a new book coming out in February called It's Not You. It's available for pre-order now. Please click the link in the video description to check it out. I would love for you to pre-order it and read it. Thanks again.